Did you know that if your business is registered for VAT and you were to purchase a motor vehicle through your business, there is a 90+% chance that you will not be able to claim that VAT from SARS? And I'm going to explain why. Now, here in South Africa, generally speaking, the purchase of a motor vehicle that is used for the transportation of passengers, meaning that when you purchase a car which was manufactured primarily for the transportation of passengers, a VAT input claim on that purchase is denied. It is specifically denied according to the VAT Act. And I've got the specific section here from the VAT Act. I'm going to read it for you. Now, it says that Section 17, number 2C says, of the VAT Act says that input VAT on the purchase of a motor vehicle is specifically denied. Now, if you know anything about legislation or an act, you know that when it says something, it has what is called definitions. Now, motor car or motor vehicle is defined according to the VAT Act. What is a motor car according to the VAT Act? According to the VAT Act, a motor car is defined as a vehicle constructed or adapted mainly for carrying passengers, including a double cab, SUV, sedan, station wagon, etc. So, like I said, here in South Africa, if you were to purchase a motor vehicle or a motor car as defined according to the VAT Act, you will not be able to claim VAT on that purchase. All right? Now, there are three exceptions to this. And I will take you through them. The first exception is that, and by exceptions, I mean instances where you will be able to claim the VAT after you purchase the motor vehicle. Exception number one is if the vehicle that you are buying, of course, is not manufactured primarily for the transportation of passengers, and you are using that motor vehicle to generate 100% taxable supplies. And an example of this is, let's say, for instance, you buy a single cab bakkie, or you buy a panel van, or you buy a commercial vehicle that you are using primarily for transport service business, in logistics, maybe even in construction. So you'll be able to claim VAT in that type of a purchase. All right, that's the first exception. The second exception is if you are actually running a dealership. So for you, a motor vehicle is actually inventory. You've got a lot somewhere, you've got a floor that's full of cars, and you are running a dealership. When you purchase your stock, when you purchase your inventory, you will definitely be able to claim VAT on the purchase of those motor vehicles. That's the exception number two. Exception number three is if your business involves the renting of cars. Let's look at guys like Avis, Heads, and all of that. Primarily, they're in the transportation business. So whatever cars that they buy is primarily for the purpose of generating taxable income, because they then rent those cars to us and then they charge us VAT, and then they're able to, so which means that they're able to, when they buy those cars, they're able to claim the VAT on that. So, like I said, if you were to buy a car outside of these three exceptions that I mentioned, through your business that is VAT registered, there is a 90+% chance that you will not be able to claim that input VAT from SARS. So in my, let me give you an example. If I'm in the accounting business, my primary business is accounting services, tax services, audit services, and consulting services. If I were to say, I'm going to purchase a motor vehicle, I'm going to purchase a Polo Vivo, and the purpose of this Polo Vivo is that because sometimes we work late, I want to hire a driver and I want the car to be used primarily for the purpose of transporting my employees from the office to their respective residential addresses, because it's late and the taxis are already finished and they can't then get transportation home. But the business buys that car. It's a business car, but I'm in the accounting business. It's an accounting business. It's not a transportation business. That purchase of that motor vehicle will, even though the dealership will charge me VAT, I will not be able to claim input VAT on that purchase. Why? Because number one, I bought a car that is primarily for the transportation of passengers. It's not a single cab. It's not a commercial vehicle. I'm not even in the logistics business. I'm in the accounting business. But the first reason is that it's a passenger car that I purchased. Secondly, it's not being used to generate taxable supplies because I'm in the accounting business, I'm not in logistics, I'm not using the car primarily to generate taxable supplies. So by definition, this car that I bought for my business, although it is for business purposes, and even if I were to say that the car will be used by me as the director to go to meetings, maybe when I'm traveling to meetings, I want to be working at the back seat and I want a driver to take me there, I don't want to drive myself. Yes, it might still be for business purposes, but because the motor car, a VAT on the purchase of a motor car is specifically denied, I cannot claim VAT on this purchase in as much as I'm using the car for business purposes. I'm using the car within the business for business purposes. My business is not primarily a transport service business, and that's the main reason why it is denied. Motor car or motor vehicles is very tricky because you might think that just because I'm buying it under the business, automatically I must be able to claim that VAT. And this is something that's very common in practice, especially for guys who are not running transportation businesses, because it's hard to explain why is it that you are not able to claim the input VAT on the purchase of a motor vehicle. So guys, I want you guys to just talk to me in the comments. Have you ever come across this scenario? Have you been denied and you're not understanding why is it that SARS is denying my claim of input VAT on the purchase of my motor vehicle? It can be quite frustrating because you're thinking to yourself, wow, I always pay SARS every month. Now I've bought a car, let me get a relief and get a refund from SARS. Let them allow me to claim this particular expense or this input VAT, because I mean, you can imagine if you buy a car that is a substantial invoice for your books and you are thinking I should be able to offset this VAT with my output VAT or the VAT on my sales, but then SARS comes back and says no, you can't do that. So it can be quite frustrating. I thought to address this, but maybe just to wrap it up and to recap a bit. Generally speaking, here in South Africa, VAT cannot be claimed on the purchase of a motor vehicle where that motor vehicle is used primarily for the transportation of passengers. What does that mean? If the manufacturer of that particular car made it primarily to be a car that transports passengers, not goods or not a commercial reasons, so a sedan, like I said in the definition, and specifically a double cab has been included in this definition of a motor car. So if the manufacturer manufactured the car for purposes of passenger transport, that VAT on the purchase of such a car, generally here in South Africa, is denied. It is specifically denied in the Act. And the Act gives us a definition. And I did mention the 3 exceptions where you can still claim VAT when you purchase a motor vehicle. One of those exceptions is if you are purchasing a non-passenger, I'll call it that, a non-passenger car, which is being used in your business to generate 100% taxable supplies, like for example, a single cab, a panel van, commercial vehicles that you are using for your business, primarily for your transport business. Exception number 2, if you are a dealership, you deal in cars, you sell cars as your day job. Cars are inventory for you. You can claim VAT. Exception number 3, if you are running a business like Avis, you rent out cars, you are in the car renting out business, you will be able to claim VAT. But the rest of us who are not in those industries, who are not in those businesses, if you are an attorney and you have bought a car for your attorney business to transport and to go fetch files, to go deliver files, generally speaking, you cannot claim VAT. If you are an engineer, you are providing engineering services within your business, except for the 3 exceptions that I spoke about. You buy a passenger vehicle, you cannot claim VAT for that because you are not in the transportation services business. You are an engineer and you are generating your revenue from engineering services. Now, you can think of any other examples using the framework that I've provided, but generally speaking, here in South Africa, the purchase of a motor vehicle that is used for passenger transportation, VAT on such a purchase is denied. It is denied. Denied. You cannot claim VAT on that. Keep in mind the exceptions, and because those are important as well. But generally speaking, it is denied, and this is something that causes quite a lot of tension. I've had to explain this many times to clients. They don't understand. They think that as the accountant, I'm now working for SARS. I've had a client who said to me, I must lodge a dispute with SARS. I knew that this dispute is not going to be successful, but I had to lodge the dispute just so that I can take him through the process, just so that I can educate the client. It has happened many times, and I think it's still going to happen. So I thought to share this information with you guys. Please let me know your experience on this matter. Have you ever claimed VAT successfully with SARS on the purchase of a motor vehicle? Share with us your stories. And have you ever been denied and you didn't even understand why? Why is SARS denying that? Please share with me in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video.